Here's the plans that come with the boat, and it contains the centerboard trunk, the post for the centerboard trunk, 2 views of the transom, at least half the transom, the stern knee, and 2 views of the tiller. And I've gotten this on 3 4x4 sheets of thin plywood. I'm not sure the exact thickness, but I had to, and that includes 2 full views of the transom, both inside and outside, which was recommended by in How to Build a Haven 12.5. The next thing is the rudder, and so we'll move on to that shortly, and then we'll start cutting them out. Here it's mid-January 2025, and we unfortunately we got snow, and so that required me to take my canopy down and move cars in the driveway, so everything had to get moved inside. And all the woodworking is pretty much come to a close for a while. Anyway, move to the rudder, and then we'll do the template for the molds. This is the construction drawing, and it shows the outline of the rudder here, but there are no dimensions, so you have to go to the lines plan. And there are the lofting dimensions. Now I've added, so it's every 6 inches. So I did 6. So I added the 3 central, 2, 3, and 4 inches above the line, and this. It's kind of a pain in the neck. I could have put this on another chart, but they didn't. Anyway, so that'll allow us to loft that onto our new unused piece of paneling right there. To lay out the rudder, since it's more than 48 inches, you got to do it at an angle, but that's okay, because if you do it at an angle, you can cut 2 halves out of a rectangle, out of a 4x4 sheet of marine plywood, which I haven't gotten yet. But It'll give me a nice big strip on the right side there for something else. So the trick here is to line that off and then draw a diagonal across the long edge, and then outline the rudder in that top right corner, and then you'll have the entire rest of this piece, which should fit some of the molds that have to be patterned. There's the basic layout. I'm probably going to redraw these curves because this was taken from a 1/8 scale model, and some of the numbers weren't correct from one of the numbers was not correct. I have to figure out which one it was. But anyway, so I'll redraw this, but it'll be the basic pattern, and then I'll have the rest of this piece that I can use to make molds along with the two pieces there. So that should get me through all the molds I'm going to be making, or the patterns for molds that I'm going to be making. So the next step is to convert these patterns, these drawings into physical patterns, which we can then use to build molds. I could go directly from this, but we're going to try to transfer this to plywood first. One of the problems with these patterns is that 10, 11, and 12 cross in this region. So it's hard to make a single pattern with all these curves with the construction baseline held to be the same. So what we're probably going to do is take the construction baseline for 11 and 12 and move it up probably an inch at a time, and keep the construction, the center line, the same, and then that will move things up. It does make things complicated because the trunk notch has to move as well, but we'll just have to keep track of that. I was able to get the patterns for molds 1 through 12 on the same sheet that had the rudder layout, so I did save some plywood for that. And as I mentioned earlier, I did have to shift up the patterns for 11 and 12, but I was only able to shift up by 3/4 of an inch each, which is fine. It separates the patterns up here in that region. But next, we go on to do patterns 13 through 22, and also the deadwood, and that should fit on one piece. So I'll have one piece left over, and I'll be able to make the patterns for the pattern for the keel. There should be plenty left over for that. The last half of the aft molds and the deadwood and stern post. So now I got to fix the missing line on the one of the, I think it's mold number 9. But one comment about these, I had to shift the 14 over by an inch and 13 over by 2 inches because they're so close together that you can't distinguish between them. So anyway, that's been resolved. So one last thing, and we'll start a cutting. Well, there may be some keen observers that show one of the lines missing. So I'm going to have to set this thing back up and draw one line, and I am not pleased. What a pain in the neck this is going to be. Anyway, so c'est la vie. I've gotten all the patterns from sheets 7 and 8 onto 5 sheets of plywood, and that includes two full views of the transom. My last sheet will go into making the keel pattern, but that's going to have to wait. As you can see down here, there's a bunch of leftovers from cutting out all the panels here. Full-size transom, the rudders back there, the centerboard trunk, whole bunches of information things here. So here's a collage of all the patterns all piled up on each other, and I can even do a couple better. Here's the bed log, I mean the deadwood, and what the heck, and then the rudder. Now the full-size transoms are here. There's the inside, and then there's the outside. I left this square tab here just as an alignment. Also, I left these nicks on both sides for alignments as well. And anyway, so I'll be able to, the nice thing about this, I'll be able to lay this down on wood and estimate getting different pieces out of a single piece of wood. So, and the full size transom surfaces is recommended in the book on how to build a haven by Maynard Bray. So that was, and the trick was, and I think I showed this previously, was, there's just part of the transom here. Well, that's a half, and I went ahead and hung this on the window and transferred it to the back side of this document, so I had a mirror image and used that to generate both the surfaces. Anyway, TTFN.